It's the Craig Rugby Podcast. It's the post-match podcast coming from Murty Rabbits, as you can hear in the background. Great atmosphere in here after a great win for Connacht. Well, maybe a tough win for Connacht. Okay, before we talk to our guests tonight, let's hear some of the in-match audio that myself, Alan Deegan, and Danny recorded during the game, and some of the try highlights from William and Rob.
Welcome to the sports ground. We're 5 minutes to kick off here. Nice breezy day. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, it's a heck of a wind blowing here. We saw a couple of the Connacht players come out and test the wind. They threw a bit of grass in the air. One went left, one went right, and one went backwards. So I'm not sure. The Stormers were having awful trouble trying to figure out what this wind was like. They were trying to figure out where the hill was, because I don't think they can find it. But yeah, the bookies have this as a pretty even game, and it's very hard to tell. Connacht are missing 5 very influential players, but Stormers have just had to make a change, and they've rejigged almost their whole back line. So we'll know more after 20 minutes.
Stormers have gone through 4 phases of really positive attack, and we're going to get a reset, are we? No, on we go. They're underneath the post and they're a metre out. They're going to go to the back line. It makes sense. This should be the try. They've scrambled over to get the score, and it's Peterson, the fullback.
20 minutes gone here in the sports ground. Stormers lead 5 points to 0. What are your thoughts, Alan?
It's looking very worrying. Connacht have been in there 22 twice, came away with nothing. They've been in our 22 once, got a score, and Connacht are playing with a very strong breeze at their back, which the Stormers are really struggling with. But their rolling maul must have made at least 50-60 metres so far in this game. So Connacht are going to have to up the pace and get a score before half time.
Slow ball. Very hard to see what's happening for the officials. Connacht go for it on the fringe of the maul, and they get in over the line underneath the post. That ball could go anywhere. It's sat up in the air perfectly for Peterson. Then he gets a boot on it. He wins the possession 5 metres from the Connacht line. He spins around in the contact and lays off the pass, and the Stormers are now 4 metres from the Connacht line. Disaster from a Connacht perspective. The pass comes out. They're nearly over. Nell is the man who's trying to get in for the try, and he has. It's Wilmser who got the ball off him actually in the end. Wilmser gets over.
So it's half time here at the sports ground. Stormers are leading 10 points to 7. Bit of a difficult first half for Connacht.
Yeah, they've been in the Stormers 22 5 times. They've only got 1 score. Great stuff from Paul Boyle. The Stormers have come up, snatched 2 scores. The first one was off a rolling maul that eventually went wide and they scored, and the second one was just a very speculative kick that no Connacht defender went for, and Williamson got to it first, kicked it through, and eventually scored. So very disappointing way for Connacht to finish. It's as though they switched off for that last minute of the first half. They're struggling with possession. They're not quite using the ball as well as they might do. A lot of one-up runners. I know the wind is pretty bad, but Stormers are going to kick the leather off the ball in the second half. They're winning by 3. They're slowing the game down unbelievably, even worse than an English team would do. Not looking great for Connacht. They're going to be playing into this breeze, but maybe that will suit them.
Oh, Connacht have knocked it on. Marmon's been used as he comes into the ball. He's dropped the ball and it's picked up, and now Lebach is bursting down the field. Lebach is going to go from 13 metres inside his own half of the field to go all the way down the other end and score a try. Now Blade is bursting clear off the fringe of a ruck. They weren't expecting Blade to do that. He's just off the bench, and that's a brilliant carry. He had an opportunity to pass. He decided to go into contact. Alex Wooten then has taken it on. Now another day to offload, and Conor Fitzgerald is going towards the line. He spins through the contact, gets the offload to Tom Daly, and Keelan Bates' break has changed this entire game. The support runners were superb, and Daly's got in for the try.
60 minutes gone here, and the Stormers lead 17 points to 14.
Well, it's a hell of a game now. The game's speeded up. It's become more the way Connacht wanted played. They've had a unfortunate drop ball from... As you can hear, the crowd are getting into it because the Stormers are still trying to slow the game down. But a fortunate drop ball in the middle of the field led to the Stormers getting their first try the second half. But it's been all Connacht. That's a fantastic try there from Tom Daly, with Blady making a brilliant break as he's come on the field. And great work from Conor Fitzgerald, who's building into this game at last, which is great to see. It's all to play for.
Out it comes now. Daly, they're going to the back line. A little trick move as Wooten comes around. What an offload from Wooten. Now they're nearly in the corner. They reach out, they score. Connacht have got the try.
Full time here at the sports ground, and Connacht have won 19-17. How was that feeling, Alan?
Yeah, wow. Still unbeaten at home against South African opposition, so that's pretty good. We'll take that. 2 yellow cards in the second half. made a mess of it for Stormers, who looked as though they were in control. But once those yellow cards happened, Connacht got the breaks, got the scores they needed, played some great rugby, and the bench bounced as well as I've seen it bounce all season. So yeah, super win, brilliant for Connacht to back up last week's away win, and now huge trip over to Edinburgh next week to see if they can keep that thing going. Champions Cup rugby next year is still a possibility. And after the match, we got the post-match thoughts of Andy Friend and Paul Boyle, and I believe William was looking for John Dobson as well from the Stormers. So here's what they had to say.
Paul, you've just come out of the dressing room, back out into the wind and the cold, but that was a good win. That was a hard old win. It was a proper tough game.
Yeah, it was, and I suppose particularly with the few results we had in Europe where we kind of let a lead slip, the pressure was on from you guys, but we spoke about it in all those meetings post them, and I think we've taken our learnings from them. We don't make it easy for ourselves, but I think we're learning, and we're going to be better at closing out games.
Yeah, because you really started playing. The bench was brought on. You started playing some really good rugby. You put pressure on them. You asked them questions out wide, and to come from 17-7 down to win, that is, you needed the win, but you got it by playing some good rugby.
Yeah, we did, and I've been on the bench a couple of times, and it's always make the impact, but it's actually so hard to make an impact coming off the bench. You can't get your second win. The game is already at a good pace, but our bench did a really good job today, not only out on the field and in their actions, but in the words they had as well. And when we were either chasing the game or trying to hold on to the game, some of the words they gave us in those huddles, and particularly Caelan Blade, it was really useful and beneficial to close out the game.
Were they exactly what you expected? They're a big side. They've got I'm tempted to say maybe they didn't use all their skills today, but they're a big, they're a typical South African side, but they've a little bit more class than maybe some of the South African sides we've seen up here recently. Yeah,
they're a big side, big forward pack. They had a lot of success with their maul in the first half, and obviously their back three are extremely dangerous. And that last set of D when we were trying to hold out, even though it felt comfortable enough, you just don't know what they're going to throw at you. If it gets to one of their boys in the back three, they could just make a break out of nowhere. So we had to be switched on all the time, and the last 5-6 minutes I think we were.
Yeah, because they got a fortunate try just before half time. The ball bounced and it stuck in the wind, and then it bounced and it was kicked through, and that's hard to take. But the next try was also a bit of a lucky one, but that seemed to galvanise Connacht, where sometimes in the past the heads have dropped a bit when that can happen. But today you were at it hard.
Yeah, those things happen. Like, think back to the game last week when Scarlett did the crossfield kick, that we got to try it or nothing. So that happens in games. You just got to get on with it. And the messaging was quite good in the huddles throughout, and that's what you got to listen to and just move forward.
Edinburgh coming up now on Friday. Andy set you a target. He said you got to win 6 out of 8. You've won 2 out of 2, so you want to make it 3 out of 3. But that's a different type of challenge on an artificial pitch. But you must have good confidence after these two, especially the type of wins.
Yeah, and Friendy did set out that target 6 from 8, but we had this 3-game block before a little break, and we set out season defining that we needed to win the 3, and we're 2 out of 3 so far, so it's a big weekend ahead. We'll enjoy that one today, review it tomorrow, and then Monday it's on to Edinburgh.
Andy, in the end, 2-point win. That was a proper old-fashioned grind-out game. Hard work.
Yeah, it was hard work, and thankfully we came out on the right side of the ledger. I just said to the boys in the shed afterwards, last week we had to hang on. This week we had to come from behind. So nice to be able to do both in 2 weeks and show that we can grind out those close encounters, which we've been guilty of not doing previously.
The bench worked really well, got the team moving. But was that a kind of a roll of the dice? We have to go for this now because you were competing, but you weren't really putting them under any pressure. You asked them a lot of questions once the bench got moving.
Yeah, I thought, we call them our bouncers. I thought when our bouncers came on, they were phenomenal actually to a man. They gave us that go forward that we'd been looking for. They gave us the sting in the tackles that we were looking for. The disruption around the line out stuff that we've been looking for. So real credit to those men when they did come on. They gave us that real impetus that we needed.
You got the scrum sorted out as well, because there was a few of them went backwards. It got a bit messy, a lot of resets. It was a stop-start sort of game, but Jack Ainger came on. He had a big game in there. He tightened things up. So did Jordan Duggan.
Yeah, I thought those two were fantastic when they come on. Only young men, the pair of them, but Jack, you could just see not only his set-piece work, but his work around the field. It was, at one stage there I counted 3 carries in the space of about 30 seconds, so his ability to get up, and every carry was a dominant carry, so I thought he was great. Level for feet, got the man of the match as we saw, but his ability to go forward, it's taken a while for Lever to settle here, but you see his performance last week, you see that performance backed up again this week. Really, really positive, so really pleased for those men.
And Cian Prendergast, we talk about him every press conference. He just goes from strength to strength. He just seems to be in the right place at the right time every time.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. And and then we took him off. But the bloke who went on there, Adrian Papali, I thought was immense today. Connor Oliver comes on and he gives you go forward. So we've got a real dearth of quality back rows, quality forwards there at the moment. And the coaches have been working hard with them, and the players have been working hard themselves, and makes our life as selectors pretty difficult.
Some good decisions as well. You kept the ball moving. There was some good sleight of hand. It was high tempo stuff a couple of times. It's probably a little bit nerve-wracking when you're watching it, but it was the only way to really win this game, was to get some width and cut them wide.
Yeah, well, it was frustrating in the box because we just kept saying there's no speed in the game, there's no pace in the game, and we don't play well when we don't have pace in the game. We knew that the Stormers didn't like having pace in the games, but we couldn't seem to find that up until probably the 50th minute mark, and it was when those bounces came on that we got that. So, but once the boys got into flow with that, you can see their skill set, and you can see they're a hard team to contain. So it was nice to see that at the end.
6-day turnaround now, Edinburgh, huge game as well, 3 in a row. You set them a target of 6 out of 8, so Friday night's going to be massive over there. Artificial pitch, which you haven't played on before, so we don't really know what to expect. And how do you think they're going to come out of this? There's a few guys there at the end carrying a few knocks, I'd say. That was a physical game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they're a big side, the Stormers, and there was a lot of physicality in those hits. They challenged hard the breakdown too, so they'll recover well, mate, and we're very aware that the Edinburgh's playing a good brand of footy at the moment too, so over there is going to be tough, but we do a bit of training on a 4G pitch at the minute. We know there's a 4G pitch coming in here next year, so we're excited to go and play over there.
John, thanks for joining us. That was a tough one for you. At times you looked to have good control in that game, and it just got away at the end.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the scoreboard's probably a fair reflection. I thought the way Connacht played in the second half was really good. They were direct, they took us on physically and probably beat us physically. Half that half with 14 men made it a bit tougher for us than it should have been. But I think credit to Connacht, they ran with purpose in that second half and almost ran over us. I think they deserved it in the end.
Conditions were tough. I mean, very hard to read. I think for both sides. It's a viciously cold wind, but it was also swirling around. So that made it, the first half was a bit stop-start, and I suppose that try just before half-time kind of set you up. It looked as if you were in prime position there to kick on.
Yeah, I mean, the wind, you're right, it wasn't an easy wind to read. It wasn't classic left to right or right to left, but we thought that first half we were more into it than right. So to be leading at half time, and I said to the players at half time, the wind's not going to carry the ball and put it across the try line. I said they kind of would come with more intensity, which they did. I thought theoretically to have had the better of the wind in the second half and lose it was very disappointing for us.
Was it the sort of game you expected from Connacht? I mean, you've analysed them, you've looked at them. Did they this is the way they tend to play. They like to get the ball moving.
Yeah, I thought what probably pleasantly surprised, not pleasantly, but for Connacht point of view, was their physicality. I thought, we got some big forwards. And losing Adre Smith and Dion Fourie, probably two of our stronger, better forwards at half time, was a blow. But the way they dominated physically in that second half, I thought the way they dominated the carries, we used to see Connacht moving the ball, probably to move the point of contact, and they really did dominate us and defensively put us under pressure. Could have had another try or two.
You're still in a good position. You've 5 home games to come now. They're going to be key. That'll bring its own pressures, but you're still well in touch here in this competition if you can get those games moving for you, getting the right results.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think it was great that we got something, even though it was only 1 point here. I mean, if we got 4, it would have been Christmas. But if we didn't want today to upset our momentum or where we are as a team, and I don't think what happened today has disrupted us or derailed us. We got all those home games at Cape Town Stadium, and we should be. You're right. We should put up a reasonable charge now. I think it's it's not a bad Stormers team, and I think playing in our home, in our conditions, our field will be quite effective.
Okay, so tonight in Martys, today in Murty's, because it's still during the day. It's still during the day. I've got Dave Finn. Dave, happy with that?
Oh yeah, never mind the quality, smell the points.
Exactly. I've got Danny Deegan.
How are things?
Your quick thoughts on that?
Great win. 4 points. Happy days. Job done.
And then new guests standing in for Lindley Mackenzie. We've got aspiring journalist Fiona Halligan. Fiona, what did you think of that?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I thought that was a great win. It's always good to win when you don't play so well and get the points in the bag.
Yeah. It didn't look like at half time when Connacht, playing with the wind, went in 3 points behind, that it looked as though we're never going to get any points out of this, Fiona.
Yeah, especially when they went 17-7 down, it kind of looked like, oh God, are we going to have another rough day here at home? But no, in fairness, the subs were hugely effective today. Conor Oliver, Papalini, they all came on, Blady, they changed the game up, sped it up a bit more and put Stormers under pressure a bit in the second half, and they took their chances when they came along. Ball handling improved immensely in the second half, so yeah, no, definitely the bench were the turning point today for Connacht.
They certainly were. And Danny, one of the huge frustrations of the first half, I think it went on for about 50 minutes, was how long it was taking to set and reset scrums and lineouts. It just seemed to take forever, and the Stormers seemed to be right happy with that.
Yeah, they really wanted to slow the game down before every single line out. They seemed to have a little mini meeting. Now it was kind of nice because it did flip and it cost them in the end, where you could see in the last 5 minutes, we could see that the subs bench spinning their fingers, telling them to hurry up. So that was a little bit of a bittersweet moment for us, kind of thing, just enjoying that. Which they came. They weren't as. We were a heavier pack, so I thought it was interesting. They wanted to slow the game down, but I think they saw how it frustrated us against Glasgow, frustrated us against Leicester, and thought that was a way in. Now, I think at half-time as well, something must have been said about the rucks, because they stayed out of the rucks in the second half. First half, they were bullying us, they were getting inside, the ref was letting them away with it. All of a sudden, that stopped in the second half, so I'd love to know what was said.
Yeah, it did, because it did look like they had us sorted. They looked as though they knew exactly how to win the game, and right up to the second yellow card, because the first yellow card was bad enough. They probably could have had one before that for cynical play, but the second yellow card really turned it in Connacht's favour.
Well, yeah, because what they were doing, and this is, I don't think they played rugby till the 50th minute. I just do not. And I think weirdly, what they started to play rugby off a really bad piece of play by Connacht, and we need to be clear about this. All three of their tries, ultimately, trace them back, come from very bad, simple turnovers and a lack of reaction, and especially the third try, because Libok picks it up on the halfway line and is gone, and no one gets near him. And I thought that's it. We couldn't see where we were going to come back. And yeah, as Fiona said, Conor Oliver came on and gave us energy. But for the 15 minutes between 50 and 65, 52, 67, Willemse controlled the game. They didn't bring Sergio Peterson back on, which I thought initially was a mistake. But they got Peterson into the game, and he was putting in these lovely little grubbers that were pinning us back into the corner. And then Nell gets the card. I think it's a red card, but I will bow till I see it properly on the screen. That isn't 200 yards away and distorted. But at that point, their discipline cost them. But if they hadn't done that, the way Willemse was pinning us back, we were struggling to get out. And we had the freedom. Significantly, the two tries we get are both handling moves where there is space. When it was 15 on 15, there was no space. Danny's right. In the first half, they were killing us. Not everything was legal. Why they didn't do that in the second half, I don't know. But they didn't. But as soon as the yellow card goes, it forces them into making a change. Willemse can't get his hands on the ball. They can't get into a position where he's spinning his back, and we open up. And to be honest with you, 1917, we had a try disallowed from Keane Prendergast, where my issue is everybody could see it was a knock-on. Why did it take that long? And secondly, touch judges don't make decisions in games. It's driving me nuts. But they made one today, and they said that Tom Daly threw a forward pass to Abe. And I'm just like, I have to see that again, because of my first viewing on the replay, again on the big screen 200 yards away. Didn't look that forward.
All right, and Fiona, the one thing you have to say is the resilience that Connacht seem to have developed, that looked as though it had sort of wavered against the likes of Glasgow, seems to be back. That we're back being the resilient team, that there's a self-belief there that we can win games no matter what.
Yeah, and it's good to see it back. I don't know, it's like a switch has gone off on their heads again. I don't know what happened with a few of the games earlier in the season, like why we weren't able to hold out and be that resilient team that we're known to be. But it's great to see it back. It was that second half was just very good, and I think it was the subs that really made the difference. Like I don't know, Conor Oliver to me was outstanding. Like, and he's just very vocal, and I think when Bundy's not there, we miss that. And I think maybe that's the resilience that we miss. You know, that person constantly in your face, like. And it's good to see Conor Oliver taking that on, but we need more players doing it. Like we need Paul Boyle doing it, Marmo maybe doing it a bit more, even though he's vocal enough. So we need more players like that to, when we are 17-7 down, that they say, come on lads, let's pull the socks up, like, you know, get back into the game. And it can be just something that small that can just switch it back on again for the players. But it's great to see it back, and hopefully it stays.
Well, exactly. And when you consider, Danny, that like the Stormers were more or less at full strength. I know they had a couple of players injured, but they had their Springboks. They had all the players that they were able to pick. They were able to pick from the full deck. And Connacht are missing 5 of their most influential players. You know, as Fiona's saying, we need people to stand up, and it was great to see lads standing up today when you're missing the likes of Carty and Bundy.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's the whole point of a squad. You know, you need to. If a guy is not there for whatever reason, injury, or if he's doing well enough to get an international call up, then the guy behind him has to step up and take his chance. And I think a lot of guys did that today. You know, I think Fitz had a bit of a tough first half, but he grew into the game, and he's just not getting enough game time. You know, maybe he's missing out on those A games. You know, and maybe there could be a possibility that we look back at the AIL or something like that. But that could be another topic for another day. The Stormers were at full strength, but Connacht didn't change the game plan. Just because we were missing those guys, the game plan didn't change. I'm just having a quick look at the stats. I couldn't look at it during the game; it was too bloody cold. My fingers were frozen. But like Connacht's first half dominated possession 53% and 60% in the second half, and they dominated territory at 73% of the first half. Second half it was 59%. With that wind, you would have thought the Stormers would have come up in a lot more in territory and even possession. But Connacht were able to hold on to the ball. They played very smart rugby. I know the yellow cards probably helped, but like when they did kick, they kicked it along the ground, forced a few knock-ons, and once they moved it away from the first runner give a pop, the Stormers didn't know how to defend it. They were at odds and ends. The second we get one pop off, they were all over the place. So we were able to get in behind them. So I think it was a very well executed game plan by Connacht today.
Okay, Dave, so you know, we've got 2 wins in a row now. The chances of getting the Champions Cup rugby, sort of the door is opening ever so slightly, and it just keeps twisting that. It keeps going in that direction. You got Edinburgh next week in Edinburgh, but they could be missing a fair few players.
Yeah, it's so hard to judge who's going to do what. The system was already messy in terms of the conferences and all that. Then we have all the fact that teams absolutely have not played the same amount of games, so it's incredibly difficult to work out where we are, in terms of who's in what position. I think, to be honest with you, the 5 teams ahead of us, who include Edinburgh, are pretty much, I'd say they're safe. We don't know what Edinburgh are going to do. We're recording this, and the jocks are getting a hammering, so I don't know who's going to get released, but you can guarantee that anybody that's from Edinburgh in the 23 is not playing next week. They've had an awful lot of injuries. The Scots, they're calling up. They should be calling up Edinburgh players a lot. So we don't know who Edinburgh are going to be able to put out. But we can't go there assuming that it's going to be the U team, the B team, and some fat lads from some of the local clubs. It's just not going to be that way. That's not how. This is a professional era. This is not how it works. We have to go there and be as professional as we can. It's a new thing. We must assume and play as if this is the first choice Edinburgh team. We must play as if this is the most important game of our lives, and it is imperative that we do. We are even, I don't think 80% wins next week. I don't think 90% wins next week. I think it has to be 100%. But the last 2 wins have been pig ugly. They have been horrible wins in horrible conditions, playing, okay, last week not so much, but this week, forced to play really strange rugby against a team that was playing really strange rugby and standing up and being counted. Yeah, there's clearly been a mindset reset, and it has to go on. The challenge is 6 out of 8. You start that well by doing 3 out of 3. Whether or not, but we have to go with the right. We go in with any way off the right attitude next week, and we'll go back to that game in the championship season. We lose, irrespective of who Edinburgh put out. It's all down to us.
Okay, so before we finish off, because I'm only barely warmed up from that because it was pretty cold out there today. Yeah, so this will be our free podcast this week. During the week, we'll have our normal midweek podcast. We'll have our coaches one. If you want to go back, if you want to become, if you're not already a member, go to patreon.com/CraggyRugby. We've got some great audio. We had John Dobson and Brock Harris as part of the coaches one earlier on this week, and there's some great stuff in there from William. I think they had some really good fun. And then we had a special interview with the Italian coach, Kieran Crowley, who gave some great insights, not just to Italian rugby, but to places like Canada, you know, who were at one stage 9th or 10th in the world while he was coach, and the difficulties he had coaching them. So, like, there's a lot of really good audio we're getting out there. So you can join us on patreon.com/CraggyRugby. Pay us a couple of bob a month, and we'll give you the best coverage of Connacht you can get. So, any other business? What have we got? Danny?
Well, it's something we touched on. It was the length of scrums and line-outs, set piece. Your main thing would be scrums. Yeah, I have to agree. You know, like, it's another game that nearly an hour and a half. You're like, come on. Refs can just tell them to speed it up. Maybe we need our captains to go to them, tell them to hurry on. The refs can just give a free kick. It's easy. It's a nice and easy, simple fix. If guys don't rush to get there, yeah, fine, whatever. But this idea of getting there, stopping, cleaning your boots, then the other lad cleans his boots. Then you go, will we set? Oh, no, we won't. We'll reset. The ref can give a free kick. Just work it out.
Exactly. Have you got any other business, Fiona?
Same with the line out today. That was so frustrating. Like, fair enough, it's the home team, but when it's the away team that's doing it and getting away with it, and when kicking away from the ruck as well, like, he seemed to get an awful long time. Just blow it up and give the free. You have to do it once and that'll stop it. Like, yeah, annoying.
I couldn't agree more. Have you got anything you always have on any other business, Dave? You always have.
Well, first of all, the guys are right times 10. I would have huge issues with Ben Blaine on that one. The other one is, I have to say, great to see Maddie Devine scoring a try from the base of a ruck last night. Lovely. I thought Italy, the under-20 game was a really good game. I thought Italy were desperately unlucky. And one thing I will say is, hometown decisions. Referees tend to favour the home team. I thought Italy destroyed us in the scrum last night. Bashes up. I mean, the three front rows for Ireland and the 2 second rows were immense in the loose. They were huge. They were fantastic at the line out. Couldn't scrum to save their lives. The Italians bashes up there, and the Italians got 1 scrum penalty. But apart from that, it's my only caveat. Remember, this is an Italy team that bet England 6-0, so clearly on form lines, purely based on form, entirely no logic beyond that. We're going to beat England up next time. We're on for a Grand Slam. It would be great. Pity there's only one Connacht guy, but I think the team is better with Maddie Devine in there, and kudos to him. And I'd forgotten his dad had played for Connacht.
Oh, exactly. Scored a hat-trick against Munster once, but we won't talk about that. Okay, my only other business is being very surprised to watch the Connacht manager Tim Allnut having to carry tackle bags at the end of the game because a certain kit man, I think he had a break there last week or the week before, left the tackle bags on the field. But, you know, we all know who that is. I'm not going to mention any names. I think we'll just have to leave it there. Bye, folks.
Loose, cut it loose. break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused. Don't wait until